Okay, we are on lesson number 262, a workbook of A Collection of Miracles, and we're learning each day when we read the section entitled The Body. We're learning each day to recognize in our mind the purpose that we previously made the body for, and whether we're aware of that or not isn't the question. If we were already aware of it, we wouldn't have the problems we're attempting to solve, or the problem we're attempting to solve. There's a necessity to accept that there's a teacher, one who knows you perfectly well. And this is his direct teaching to you that you can apply within your own mind. Okay? So we're learning to accept. We've come to the point. Because remember, the first part, the initial part of this workbook was helping us undo ideas. The structure, the ideas, and the structures built on those ideas that were in place based on the ego and the idea of separation being the foundation of the thought system we were raised up in, and raised up as we were raised up cognitively ourselves. And then, because of the forgetting of who we are, we utilized our that thought system. And the truth of the matter is, if you look at this correctly, the utilization of that thought system produced the effects that the thought system was designed to produce. They're just not the same effects as utilizing a thought system that is based on who you are in the kingdom of heaven, in reality, where the laws of reality operate truly, and they operate truly when you serve the purpose of the ego. They just operate truly to give you false effects. That's why Jesus calls it a positive miscreation. It's the idea that they operate truly, they are operating positively the way they're designed to operate, but they're operating to give you false effects. So let me perceive there's no differences today. So today we're learning that the body, as we undid our mind, we recognize even our ideas about the body and what we are entirely wrong. And now we've been given a new way to look at the body. We've been given a way to look at the body as the way we are restored to sanity. Not the body is restored to sanity, although the body will restore. It will change your relationship with your body, and your body's relationship to you in regard to health is altered as you utilize these laws within your own heart and mind. And you experience effects in order to show you and demonstrate the power of your own mind within your own association and within the world. When you begin to allow yourself to be an association, I feel like the old man, an association of reassociation or a miracle worker, because you've sufficiently learned to live with the certainty and the learned experiential consequences of accepting that forgiveness offers you everything you want, that it's your new frame of reference. And that's what we had hoped to establish. That's what we had hoped to establish through Jesus with the first part of the workbook, instituting forgiveness as our fundamental modus operandi in order to gain all things true and real that were given to us in our creation and have always been real, in which we dissociate ourselves from by the act of not remembering who we are in that instant, in that tiny instant, when that mad idea seems to take the place of eternity and give us time and space and all that kind of stuff. But let me perceive no differences today. Father, you have one son. Now, I'm going to propose here, by the use of a story, my understanding that comes with let me perceive no differences today. It's different from trying to see everything as I'm going to try to make everything the same. That's not what it means to me. What it means to me is this, and this is my experience. And in fact, when I contemplated this lesson, this is what I was given to talk about. So it is, in fact, my modus operandi or understanding. Okay, when I enter into, the old man used to call it the prayer chamber. When you enter into your own prayer chamber, and he used to attempt to correlate those ideas with esoteric understandings, such as the chakra system. And he also used to attempt to correlate the chakra system with the book of Revelation. And there's always an attempt to, by awakening mind, to do these very high correlations, wherein which they begin to perceive glimpses of what was offered in the associations, wherein which those understandings became realizable, because they were given from realized mind as new understandings about the chakras and the centers and etc., and the prayer chamber being correlated with there used to be a guy on radio, and then he was on television for a while back when I lived here, way back when, in the early 80s. And the show was called The Doctor Is In. And it was a guy, he had a doctorate of divinity. And he had been with all major biblical churches. He was recognized. And then he had an experience, and he began to go off the established reservation. And the truth is, all the guys who were on the established reservation eventually are convicted of for a lot of different reasons, all of which come down to greed and not knowing what to do with all the money, because they think they need money, because they never really solve the internal problem of where the lack really is. So there's a show called The Doctor Was In, and he would do these high correlations between everything: the churches, the gospels, the aliens, the pyramids. And it was fascinating how his mind worked, and you could see that his mind had opened up. And this was before I had my experience. And then when I had my experience, I understand exactly what this guy was going through. And he couldn't deal with organizations and establishments, and he was always trying to keep his. It was like the old man, actually, trying to raise the money to keep his satellites being up and running, so he can keep on broadcasting what he had been told to broadcast. And in a sense, he was a wise man. That's why I loved the old man. He was like that. He was maniacal in one way, in that he was on a mission, and he knew what the mission was, and he didn't know how to accomplish it. And that's in a sense what we're all here to do. So we're in the process of learning how to utilize that which was meant to keep us separate from reality, to help us to join with everything and recognize that we're already one with reality. So when this talks about not perceiving differences, to me it is that unity experience that occurs when you release yourself from the strictures of being anything you think you are, because you're free enough to release yourself from everything else, from the strictures of what you thought it was in the past, and just be in a contemporary moment of unambiguous communication as one thing, consciousness as one in that sense, and the awareness of the oneness of the consciousness as what you're participating and perceiving everything through. Many of you have had that experience. Now, interestingly enough for me, and I've told this story to people before, so when I went away to college on my birthday, it was September 13th, which just passed. And I guess it was like 1976 when I started. No, 1970 when I started. And we went, it was about 8 of us or 9 of us from the same school, and 3 of us wound up, in the same dorm. And my friend said to me, "Come on, let's go downstairs. I got a couple of joints." Now, I had never gotten high before in this way. Like, I'd never, as a kid, I messed around with alcohol. So as a kid, I started drinking diet pills in the summer. But I never really smoked weed. Like, I never got high in that sense. So we went out and went to a tree, and he was passing. Jimmy said I brought these two from home, Long Island. So we're in Connecticut under this beautiful oak tree and this beautiful surroundings. Jesuit, Jesuit school. They only the best. And Pat comes around, three of us, and comes around, take it. I never smoked cigarettes. So I didn't know. It was embarrassing because I didn't know how to inhale. I didn't know anything. So he came around the second time, and all of a sudden, this feeling overcame me, and my mind opened up, and I could see everything was one. Everything was one. Everything was one active consciousness. There was no separation. There's no words that can put the experience into words, because the words separate me from the experience, and I was one with the experience. When people say, I was one, and I began to have those experiences readily and progressively, and yet I didn't understand them at the time because I had no discipline. I had no, how should I say, I had no point of reference for them. And I thought initially that's what happened to people when they got high. To me, getting high was always associated with unity consciousness, wherein which we know of our oneness and our union. That's to me what it was all about. And learning, the experience was exquisite. But I found that others, that's not the effect it was having. And so, I didn't quite know what to do about that at the time. They certainly didn't know what to do when I began to yell, look at it, it's all one under this oak tree. And I first week at this Jesuit university. So let me perceive no differences today. To me, that's what it's an active seeing from a perspective wherein which the body is not a membrane of separation, but it is a participatory, functional ally within the process of learning of your own wholeness and the unity and harmony of the kingdom. And we have these experiences, and there's no, in a sense, having them again. There's just the ability to free your mind, because they are freeing in the sense of as much fear as we're willing to apply forgiveness on and come to an understanding of why we're in fear of it. So yeah, to me, that's what this lesson is offering us, the ability. Now remember, this is just to me. Now, at the same time, when we begin to utilize the one mind that we are, the experience that we have is both shared in the sense that it comes from the same source, yet it is also individualized as well, so as to undo the particulars of our own attachments to the illusory identity and the space and time within which we have considered that illusory identity to be our life, rather than what it is, a dream, okay? And dependent upon the positionality that you have to the moment where there's a total surrender due to your unwillingness to maintain any of this in any regard, and wake up. We're always dealing with residual fear and guilt so as to eliminate the necessity for this learning ground where perception is a necessity at all. Yet if we're going to perceive, let's allow perception to begin to operate and be informed by and along the lines of the truth of who we are in reality and the eternal life and reality of that single shared self, so as to not think there is anything against what it is that we are. I mean, ultimately, I know this is an aside, okay? Here's my problem with the idea of aliens. Okay. Ultimately, if there's a single creator, the aliens are created as a single part by the same creator as yours, so they can't be any different. Now, I could go into a whole explanation of what aliens actually are as part of a shared illusion based on frightened imaginings that a consciousness can no longer stand, so it begins to kick out and then begins to see, or it begins to match those pictures in the world to find effects to make it a reality. And that happens, since we're using one line, the nightmares that people have are the same, except the symbols that they use are culturally oriented, and yet eventually they are all one. That's why demons and devils all seem to take on the same look after a while, because we imagine them in the same way, based on the same vain and insane imaginings of dark forces mounting against us that look in particular ways as an anti-formulation to the already formulated world that we are living in, as a denial. Do you understand anti-formulation? In our minds, where our mind has a split, we have what something is and what something isn't. So we have what the world is and then what the world isn't. And what the world, these things that we are in our imaginings, these aliens, they are from what the world isn't. And we make them up in our mind. And then we see them because we pop. That's how never mind. But anyway, that's my problem with aliens. How could they have a separate creator for me? The old man used to say, and he was brilliant when he would say this, he would say, listen, what you are learning, and this is true, it's not different than Jesus saying to you, forgiveness offers you everything you want. What do you leave out of that? The idea that forgiveness does not operate on what the world has told you are alien cultures that are out there to come and do something to you that is unnatural within an already unnatural and illusory condition? Come on. Do you understand that? You cannot accept fundamentally that life is one and there is one creator and then tell me about aliens that are so unlike you that they live in some sort of negative universe and are the exact opposite of what we see things here. And that somehow they bleed through. Okay, that's my problem. Do you understand that? Communication. So the old man used to teach, with what you're learning, what I'm teaching, you can go travel anywhere. And when you meet an alien, you just show them what you know. And what you know is the greeting and is the vibratory frequency of energy of the recognition of who you are in creation as beyond the ability for anything to be alien to. He would say, so you could go anywhere, you meet anywhere, you just do this. And you're going to be fine. Because you never know where you're going to end up after boot camp. So forgiveness, that's what I'm trying to say. Can you see the difference between a mind that leaves forgiveness over? Forgiveness offers me everything I want. Okay. There cannot be an alien culture out there that forgiveness cannot be susceptible to within my own mind when I decide to apply it. It would not be a possibility. The alien culture could not have a different creator from me, could not have a different source from me, and the acceptance of the fact that love is my source and love is the single creative factor in all the universe, outside of which there's nothing and beyond which nothing exists, and that everything that's created is created by love, would mean that the aliens are exactly like me in each and every way, whether I ascribe that way to them or not, including of my denial of the fact that they are that way. That's my problem with aliens and A Course in Miracles. Not that I don't accept the fact that there can be, just like we're here, there can be the thought of a culture somewhere that's not here, and we can make contact with that culture. That's not different than me talking to my neighbor, for heaven's sake, or me having Jesus communicate with me, or the tech crew. To me, it's no different. Jesus even said that's not even a miracle. Only creatures of a like order can communicate. Father, you have one Son, and it's he that I would look upon today. He is your one creation. Why should I perceive 1,000 forms in what remains as one? Right. It's not said. Now, don't break down. We define things, we break it down into pieces. When you can relax your mind and experience everything as one, and begin to align and converge with your natural nature, which is the kingdom of heaven, and be like Jesus. Live in the immediacy of your connection with the eternal and the infinite right here, right now, and let that inform everything you are, so that everything, in one sense, is miraculous, because everything is experienced in the wholeness and perfection that you're allowing it to live in, within the certainty of your own, the release from your own need to be a body in space and time as a separate entity in defense, thinking something's out to get you. No, it's all for your enjoyment. When in the Bible is much misunderstood, because it's translated by minds that are still in fear and guilt. So when man is told that he's being given dominion over everything, that's not enslavement, it's stewardship. It's stewardship for the purpose of experiencing life as life is created by God. We who are one would recognize this day the truth about ourselves. We would come home and rest in unity, for there is peace and nowhere else can peace be found. And so if the unity and harmony of creation go in you, go with you, and you can allow your mind to begin to see past the barrier, the membrane of separation that indicates differences, and allow it to all be participatory in your experience. Not the experience of the body, but the experience that includes the body, not as separate from everything, but as participatory in a demonstration of who you are to yourself and all the world. Now you can utilize that in the glory of recognizing who you are, or you could cower and think it's about sin and guilt and separation and stay separate and undergo another death experience. Okay? Let me perceive no differences. There is no opposite to life. And life is eternal. How could there be a difference? What's alive, whole, and perfect, always was, always will be, is ever increasing, and ever refreshing, and ever renewing. It cannot die. That which dies is not life, and is not part of you. Maybe part of a hallucination of life that in which we have an opposite condition called death. But that's not reality. That's like watching a movie. Okay? Now we're just being passerbys in the movie that we made of a condition that's not been in alignment with our reality, but as quickly becomes in alignment when we follow these simple principles.